Hello guys, I just wanted to share my Unraid journey to you guys, and where I'm at, and hopefully later on I will tell you what I have to do with this server, and yeah, let's get started. So why did I decide to make an Unraid server? Well, at first I wanted to store my information um, on this NAS, and I just wanted full control over my movies and music. So I would get my physical copies, and I wanted a place to store the rips and be able to stream them. So there are two types of NAS servers that people will go after: either a pre-built server like the ones that come from Synology, or people will make a custom one. I chose to make a custom one because of my previous experience building my own gaming desktop. It's just something that I love to do. I'm always ready to try and learn new things. So that's kind of what I went and did. Usually, people who make these custom builds, from what I've seen on YouTube, will have a small cube case, like the Node 804 or 500 from Factorial Design, and they'll usually have a micro ATX board because of that. I spent some time looking around, and one of the YouTubers I drifted off to was a guy named The Network. And all of this information that I provided in this video will be down below. But yeah, he made a playlist called a free NAS build, and it was very descriptive, and it inspired me to follow his template. And let's talk about his build and how I was inspired. So originally I went for this board because he also went for it. It's a pretty decent board, but later on when it was coming in, I found out that it needs to be connected to a display to work, and that kind of just turned me off. And when it arrived, I immediately went to Walmart and got my refund. You could say I didn't do a bit research, but that's perfectly fine. He also recommended this i3 Kaby Lake CPU, and the nice thing about the CPU was that it supported hyper-threading, and I think that's just something that you should kind of go for when it comes to building these things. But yeah, basically this was a price-friendly CPU, and although it's a decent CPU, I kind of wanted something along the lines of a Xeon server grade processor, and a friend of mine recommended the E3 family. I looked around and found the E3 1245 version 5 CPU, and let me just show you guys here. And basically this was just perfect and ideal for me. I talked to a guy over Facebook that lived in Iowa, and we negotiated it for about 200 bucks. And I got it in the mail, but when I did, I still did not have a motherboard. So I used PC Part Picker to find my ASRock board. And the nice thing about this board is it's server grade, and it doesn't need a display to work. A display connection. And basically the only problem with this board is that it doesn't have an integrated HDMI soldered on, which kind of sucked because my CPU supported 4K video by itself, so it had an integrated graphics on it, which is fine. I opted out and went for this GPU. It's a pretty decent GPU. The thing about my server is that it actually doesn't need a graphics user interface, but I use this for whenever I need to fix any problems, or when I want to use it for transcoding on my Plex server, and I will show you guys this later. But yeah, so I was able to get this motherboard, and the case that I actually decided going for was a Silverstone GD09B. And the nice thing about this case was that it was had a horizontal layout, and I kind of like that because it just kind of blends in if I were able to put this in my living room. And so I went with this, and I also like that it was black. I'm kind of into very discreet computers, cars, anything, you know, just something that's just a sleeper. So this is kind of what I went for. And after that, I went out and got this power supply unit. But the problem with this power supply was that it was modular, and I had to learn from this. But basically, let me go over to this picture and show you guys. So since it was modular, I had to deal with all of this. And this is coming from my case. My case is pretty big in size, actually. But the problem is cable management and all that stuff. And some of these cables I did not even use because I didn't have that many drives. So basically, I ended up getting this power supply. And this power supply was fully modular. It did cost a bit more, but the nice thing about this power supply is that later on in the future, I can put in a transcoding GPU like the P2000 from NVIDIA, and it will be able to take care of that. And that's kind of nice looking forward into the future. Alright, let's talk about the storage. So for my storage, this is kind of funny, but I went for an external. So let me explain this. So Western Digital sells these easy store external drives, but they're actually red drives that are disguised as white. They have the same cache as the red NAS ones, and they're half the price. The thing is, once you get this, you'll have to disassemble it, and you have to put tape over the third pin in order to get it working. But you save a lot. At the time I was getting it, I could have spent $300, but now it's dropped to $200. So this is very nice. So for my SSD here, let's go back. So I decided to go for a 1 terabyte SSD. Some say this is overkill, but when I was actually learning how to use my Unraid server, I was continually formatting everything. I was just deleting everything to factory settings, and whenever I did this is very dumb, but I would actually take my information and I would move it on to my drive and onto my server, I mean, and basically this would take forever. So I opted into a cache drive for the speed on the server, and I will show you guys in a bit. So let's go off to my optical drive. So the thing is, I wanted this server to be an all-around. So the reason why I decided to get this is that this drive, this optical drive here, can rip 4K Blu-rays. And in order to do this, the firmware that it actually comes with is 1.03. And some guys from the Make MKV forum actually made a program that downgrades it to 1.02. And basically it supports something called a Libre drive, and you can actually get 4K using Make MKV to rip. So, and this also helps with making my server all around by using a VM later on to actually put the Blu-rays on there or the CDs and rip them. I don't need to do it on my personal computer and then copy over the data onto the server. So it's kind of like a one-stop shop. It just it makes it so the server can do all of that. Alright, so let's talk about my 10 gig NIC card. So I've got two cards, and basically one's in my personal one and the other one is in my server. and I just used this to transfer over stuff. And the nice thing about this was pretty cheap. I actually got both of the cards for about 34 bucks, and the cable, I got it on Amazon for about 16 bucks. I think it was a 2 or 3 meter cable. And at first, when I got the NIC cards, it was quite frustrating because the NICs themselves will boot up on both systems in the boot, and it's very stupid. So I had to turn that off. And what the NIC card was also doing is that it was being prioritized by my server for some reason. And when that happened, I wasn't able to download any content through the community apps because I just don't know. I'd get a network failure message. But what I did was I formatted my Unraid server. I took I unplugged the NICs, and then I just mapped my primary Ethernet interface to be the one on the board. And then I plugged this in, and everything worked out well. So basically, let me show you guys my server and the transfer rates over the network and the transcoding from my Plex onto my phone, this web browser, and my TV. Alright, so this is my server. Let's just get out of there. And basically, this is the array of devices that I have. You should have a parity drive, and what that does for you is that it enables your information to be stored on a drive that recreates any corrupt data on the other drives. But I don't have that right now. I'm hoping to get that soon. Budget's running low. But yeah, here is the 8 terabyte that I was telling you guys about. This is my cache drive, the 1 terabyte that I was telling you guys about. You actually need a flash drive for the OS to boot. And then these are the external devices that I have plugged in. Actually, my SanDisk is internal, but I haven't mounted it. I might use it later on for my virtual machine, which Unraid offers. So this is actually external. But yeah, let's go on to the dashboard and let me show you some of my Dockers. So my Dockers here, I've got Crusader, yep. So let's start it up. Here's the CPU usage, the interface, my memory, everything. This simplifies everything. But yeah, here's my web UI. And with the Dockers, there's a few that I use, but they're very helpful. So I showed you guys the external drive earlier, and the nice thing about this is that I can go in. Oh, it's not mounted. Huh. Alright, so let me stop this. I've got to mount it. Sorry, guys. Alright, stopped. Let's go back to the main. Let's find my passport. Let's mount it. Alright, it's mounted now. Now let's start this again. And as you can see, not that much of a load is taken by these Dockers, which is amazing. Alright. So, let me show you guys this. Let's back up. Alright. So, disks external. So this is the actual external drive here. And the nice thing about this is I can transfer files over, and this is kind of what I was doing when I was telling you guys earlier that I would format the whole Unraid server when I was just learning how to use it and whenever I messed up. And what I'd do is I'd basically transfer my movies and stuff from the external drive onto here, and it was very slow, so let me just show you guys how slow it was. Let's go to this SSD here, and then I've mapped using my 10 gig NIC. I mapped my movies folder that you guys just seen. Alright, so this is my SSD transfers, Princess Mononoke. Alright, so here we have let's see, we have 34 gigabytes here, and this is what would happen. Let's just make sure that I don't have my cache drive on, so we don't get to see the speed advantage. Media, cache drive, no. Done. Alright, so this is basically the speeds that I was getting. Let's refresh that. Alright, so of course it starts up very fast, but it will dip, as you guys can see. So so this is about what I was getting for transfer rates for about 500 gigs of my data. So when I went out and got this NIC, I was able to boost that. So let me show you guys. Let's cancel that. Let's enable cache. And by doing this, I should be getting about a gig, but I'm fine with the 500 that I'm getting. And this 500 is consistent. It may drop, but it soon comes right back up. Now look at this. Isn't this is just beautiful. About 60 seconds for 30 gigs. Alright, so you can do that. You can also transfer over stuff via a RAM disk, and those are nice, but the problem with the RAM disk is you're gonna have to buy a bunch of RAM in order to do this. And you know, the transfer rate was about 500 megabytes, I believe, per second. So let's just make about a gig. And let's go over here, and the transfer via RAM disk is actually really, really fast. Like so fast that you don't even see the prompt. And as you let me just format it and I will show you guys. Alright, so let's go back here. Okay, the problem is we have a gig, so I can't show you guys the speed on a larger file. But what I can do, let's see here. Properties. Nope, we don't want that. We want something that's about 700. We could actually do this. Alright, let's do that. One sec, guys. Gonna remove this. Gonna do this. We're gonna do 1500. Alright, now let's go back, refresh, format this. Alright, so this is the SSD on my main PC to the RAM disk that I just made on my main PC. So we're gonna copy that over. That's just within my PC. Now let's just copy this over to the server. And you guys will see the speeds that I'll be getting, but you guys might not because it's so fast. Okay? Now watch this. You saw that, right? 976 megabytes per second. That is just mind-blowing. And that's the nice thing about the RAM disk. Using a RAM disk, you actually get to see the true potential of what your NIC can do. So let me just do that. Let me unmount. Alright. What else can I show you guys? Alright, let's go over to my Plex server and let me show you guys what I have to offer. Alright, so by mapping my shares onto this Docker, which is Plex, I'm able to watch things. So what I'm going to be showing you guys here, it sucks because you guys won't be able to see the majority of the demos that I'll be giving you, but you'll be able to see my CPU load, and of course you'll be able to see it on the web browser, but you won't be able to see the what's going on my TV or my phone. But let's just go on my phone real quick. Alright, so I just booted up Plex onto my phone. I'm gonna play Apocalypse Now, the 4K version, the Redux. Okay, so let's play that real quick. So I'm gonna play that on my phone, and hopefully you guys can hear. And as you can see, the CPU is just going off. All right.
I was there. All I could think of was getting back into the jungle.
All right. So this is actual real-time load from my phone. All right. So let me play this on my on the web browser. So let me cast it onto the web browser. So let me connect to Chrome. There we go. And then let me play what version I want. And I'm doing this all from my phone. So let's resume. All right. So it's playing. Okay. And as you can see, we're on a browser. So it's gonna on my phone. It wasn't doing much, but give it a sec. And there we go.
Waiting for a mission. Getting softer.
And there's like
Every minute I stay in this room,
I haven't had a buffer issue,
squats in the bush, he gets stronger.
but there might be. So this is just phenomenal. This is a 4K movie. It's about 3 hours long. So let's just exit out of this, and I'll play it on my Chrome cast on my TV in the living room. The thing with the Chromecast is it's a 1080p, right? And the TV's also 1080p, but I'll be casting the 4K movie onto my TV. And I know that's kind of I'm spreading a little misinformation there, but you know, I'm pretty sure it will also work on a 4K display and a 4K Chromecast. So the CPU's gotten down here. We don't have anything playing right now. Let's exit out of the Plex. And then let's go on my phone and let's disconnect from the web browser and connect onto my TV. Alright, so give it a second here. Alright, the Chromecast is connected. I'm going to play version 4K. Alright, here we go. Alright, give it a second on my phone. Alright, the movie's actually playing right now. And this is the movie playing on my TV. And I am using a bit of the RAM to help transcode. But, you know, once again, this is a 4K movie. It's an MKV file format. It has HDR, and I'm able to play it. The CPU, you know, it's quite up there. Sometimes it'll even after the movie's playing for a little bit, it'll even drop down to like 2% or 6% CPU usage, and it will spike up here and there. But that's pretty much it for you guys. Let me just sum it up here. So later on, I hope to upgrade to a new computer case, HTPC case for more room. So that's one of my goals. If a new CPU comes out that can do transcoding, 4K stuff on the fly, and it isn't as expensive. I know that AMD has been going hard lately. I will probably go for that. But, you know, it's all about pricing for me. And also, you know, I plan to get this virtual machine, a Windows 10 or a Linux virtual machine up so that I can start ripping movies on the server and CDs without needing to be on my personal computer. And also, you know, if I decide to make a next video, I will show you guys my Blu-ray ripping process. And it's pretty cool because there is the script that I have that can basically change the title of an MKV file to whatever you rename the actual file to. It can remove audio tracks and subtitle tracks, and you can change the what is it called, the PSG or PGS subtitle format into SRT. So I can show you guys that in another video if I decide to, and basically just how I do things. Yeah, so thank you guys for watching, and see ya.